Hey, yo, welcome back to another episode of the Coffee and Cannoli podcast. A few weeks back, we lost a wrestling legend, Mr. Scott Hall, as you saw by the toothpick I just flicked at the screen. One Razor Ramon right here. He's got the autograph. I got the WrestleMania 10 action figure, and he's got Peter Venkman.
I guess there you go. I got stuck.
Sonic the Hedgehog. Everybody's got something.
Hold on, I want to get something. You talk.
All right. While we wait for Campo, this episode we're just gonna go through his career, some of our favorite matches, some of our career highlights of one Mr. Scott Hall, aka Razor Ramon. One of the most charismatic, I would say, characters in all of professional. There you go. There you go. That's nice. That's nice. I guess you guys would all in agreement to that. Probably the most charismatic characters in all of pro wrestling. This is also being recorded on the same day where Triple H announced his retirement professionally from wrestling after his cardiac event a few months back, where he actually admits he almost died. So yeah, so it would have been a dark month for wrestling if we both lost Triple H and Scott Hall, but luckily Triple H is doing much better. And so like I said, this is going to be a retrospective, our memories, our highlights, best career moments of Scott Hall, and some of our favorite matches. So who wants to start on this one?
Well,
I was going to say Caps. Caps, I know, is a really big Scott Hall fan. He was, his greatest IC champ from a video. I'll probably have the link up here somewhere. When we did our top IC champion videos, I know he was your top pick, wasn't he, Caps? Or at least close to the top.
I totally forgot about that. I did
He
have
was on my
number
list.
one.
I know.
Yeah.
Number one for IC champ. Right out of the gate. As soon as he made his debut, the vignettes. I remember the vignettes.
Yeah.
Which I recently watched, and they are awful.
Yes.
they really.
But funny.
Yes.
Like you can see what was that guy that came out afterwards that totally copied
the guy that was like the
Razor Ramon, the one that he was spitting the
Carlito.
apple.
Yeah.
Carlito, yeah.
But it's crazy how he just came up with this character from a movie that Vince McMahon never even heard of.
If you look in his history, he's come up with a lot of characters that have lasted a long time for other people, like the Crow version of Sting is the number one probably. But there's a lot. I didn't write a list. I probably should have. But you can look that up.
He made the 1 2 3 Kids career, X-Pac, whatever you want to refer to him as, Sean Waltman.
Brought him back to be 6.
Yep.
Most of the NWO was him and Kevin Nash's doing.
Yeah, that's the big.
So you got to give him credit.
Contrary to what Hulk Hogan says.
Yeah.
No one cares what he says.
According to even Bischoff himself, like a lot of the promos and the way the early vignettes of the NWO, a lot of that stuff was credited to Scott Hall.
And
I think Scott Hall and Kevin Nash were very, very influential on Hogan to not go on those 20-minute rants that he likes to go on and keep it short as a heel to make it more impactful.
Less is more.
Yeah.
Well, you could see the impact. Go, Putty. Sorry.
Well, no, I was going to say, you can even say you were talking about the vignette earlier about how they were, a little bit different than they used to be. But you have to admit, though, when he crossed over from WWE to WCW, that felt more realistic and standpoint because he came in there with a swagger.
Because he got to do his own thing. Where I'm sure the other way, McMahon was all over that.
But that's my point, though. He was able to use his chemistry to make that look so like
100%.
It was much better.
But that's the thing. When he came in as when he debuted on WCW, he came in with the curl, the toothpick. He was essentially Razor Ramon, and people actually believed at the time that the WWF was invading WCW.
Well, it led to a lawsuit from WWE based on it, which also. This is the funny part. They were trying to sue WCW for that situation. WWE went and said live on broadcast that they're bringing Scott Hall and Kevin Nash back to be.
Well, they never said Razor. Scott Hall. They said Razor and Diesel.
They never they never specified what it was going to be. Where if you look at what WCW did, and I can tell you this because I'm now completely past this point of watching every single episode, they never specified in WCW either. They never said what they were doing. It was loosely based. So they did the same thing. And it led to the point where they had to have a fake scene where Monsoon yelled at Jim Ross for pretending like he screwed up and he should have not said that.
Yeah.
And it was like a whole thing. And I think his impact on wrestling is so big. He doesn't get enough credit for what he's done. The first ladder match, and first of all, both ladder matches were amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely
probably
amazing.
To this day, still probably one of the best ladder matches of all time.
You can look those up. They're so amazing. It's crazy. Not to mention them leaving WWF to go to WCW caused such a huge stir.
Well, the curtain call, the most infamous.
The ratings dropped in WWE.
Yeah.
The ratings spiked in WCW when they got there. You could see how mad Vince McMahon was because he tried to bring back phonies just to keep it going. And you can see the direct impact in the history of wrestling that they created.
And by the way, Fake Diesel is actually Kane, Glenn Jacobs.
Well, they literally copied it even when they took over WCW. When they took over WCW, they basically had Shane McMahon go in and do the takeover that literally Scott Hall just did years before because it was a very impactful thing. And then when that happened, no one ever forgets it.
He was missing a Canadian tuxedo when Shane McMahon did it.
Well, yeah. But
he was wearing that turtleneck, the Steve Jobs turtleneck there.
I remember when Scott Hall went to the announcer desk and just basically like, I'm taking over. Like he just basically did. And it was cool.
The progress of that was so
now
well
I
done.
know you know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here.
Exactly. And it was played off so well. I mean, you just got to give him credit. He's one of the better wrestlers of that era period, and he was a pretty big guy.
Yeah, he's tall.
They build people incorrectly constantly, and a perfect example of this is if you just look up on YouTube Shaq in WWF, like in a battle royale, I think it was the Andre Giant, whatever. He's literally like a foot taller than the Giant, and Shaq is 7'1", so like they're billing these guys as crazy tall, but Scott Hall is actually like 6'8", 6'9", and
he was a tall dude.
His finisher is iconic.
The Razor's Edge,
the coolest
the crucifix bomb. Yeah.
And like his strength was good. His skill was there. I just remember being a kid when I first started watching wrestling. Everyone in school, there was two guys, Bret Hart and Razor Ramon. And everyone liked Razor Ramon a lot more than Bret Hart. Like we watched Raw just for Razor Ramon.
The thing is too, Razor Ramon, I would credit him as the first bad guy who was a tweener. Like before Razor Ramon, the bad guy was the bad guy and everybody hated the bad guy.
Yep.
But he came in as the bad guy.
But the same thing, he wasn't a face. People just liked him.
Yeah. And I would credit him as the first heel that people actually got behind.
We see that a lot nowadays where you can still push a heel but have people like them. And I think that's the proper way to do it. You don't need to make people hate somebody.
Well, see, that was another thing too. A lot of people didn't realize this. Scott Hall even knew this. You could tell that he knew this.
He knew he was over.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't even just that though. The whole evil thing. I've noticed lately since his passing, WWE has focused on it. But this is something as a wrestling fan, you already knew. When it came to him, he knew evil was fun, but he knew how to make it to where it's like, ooh, I like this, and I kind of want to be on the side of evil. And he was the only one that literally pulled it off to where there's every single person that plays the bad guy feels like they want to copy what Scott Hall does because they knew the charisma is what made him so popular. You know what I mean?
He was an absolute mess at the time as well.
Yeah. Like, I mean, he had his demons he was battling.
But he, through everything, minus like later on and like a random couple of times, especially when WCW played at that angle.
Yeah, when he used to come to the ring with a drink in his hand.
Yeah, he managed when he puked on Eric Bischoff, but he managed to still hold up in matches and doing it. Where if you look at Jake Roberts, he was like a slug. He didn't even do anything. Or
even about 10 years ago, that Jeff Hardy match against Sting, where he shows up to the ring like completely wasted, and Sting won't.
Jeff Hardy had a few really bad moments in TNA. Where he was completely gone. I mean, I'm not praising them for any of this. I don't want anyone to think that, but he was such a talent that he just did what he did. And I mean, you got to just appreciate everything that he did as a wrestler and pave the way for the people that are doing it today, especially in like the smaller organizations where they fought back against WWF, because WWF has always been the guy.
They'll always be the top, and like we were saying with Cap said earlier, probably one of the greatest IC champs of all time.
Yeah,
guaranteed.
He's one of the first people to ever fight back against the system and be like, okay, I'm leaving.
Yeah,
like, if you're not going to let me do what I want, I'm just going to leave.
Yeah, and like, go ahead, Caps.
First ever 4-time IC champ. It's so funny because you were talking about his demons and stuff. When they were bringing his personal life onto television, when they were going through those skits when he was actually drinking on TV and puking on Eric Bischoff, he did interviews saying that he was actually sober at that time, and then not too long after
he relapsed.
Started drinking again. Yeah, he relapsed, and just things started taking over. And it's so funny how Campos was talking about him being a rebel. He did a lot of crazy stuff. He when they took him off WCW TV, it was actually in fact because he was dating the network's head daughter.
Oh, geez.
And I don't know, something happened, and they took him off TV because they were so pissed at him. But
he really was the bad guy.
Yeah,
he did some crazy stuff. There was numerous times when he relapsed and all that stuff, and they took him off TV, and people wanted him to be back and asking for Scott Hall and all that stuff. So, and we could talk about his whole part of his run in WWF when this guy was like on cocaine.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you guys ever saw the special on ESPN.
The 30 for 30.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Oh man, talk about sad. Like I never knew he actually killed a guy. He actually killed a guy before his wrestling career.
Yeah,
as a bouncer, right?
He admitted that he should have gone to counseling, but he never did, and it's been haunting him his whole life.
Yeah.
But,
like, I mean, and that's the thing too. He's always been the thing going back with that. That's when him and Diamond Dallas Page first met each other. Scott Hall was working as a bouncer, and Page brought him into the business as the Diamond Stud.
The things that DDP has done for people in the business are legendary, and he's probably one of the genuinely best people who's ever been in wrestling.
Well, he saved Jake's life. He saved Hall's life.
He gave so many of those people their starts.
Yeah.
He helped out so many people make a name for themselves, and he sold. That's another thing too. Scott Hall, for everything that the NWO went through and stuff, even Kevin Nash, they sold for people. And it was like,
whenever somebody in the NWO had to take a fall, it was always Hall. When it was the three of them, when it was just Hogan, Hall, and Nash, Hall was always the one taking the fall.
And he could take a bump too, like just like a Ric Flair bump. And like it boggles my mind sometimes. Recently, I don't know if anyone saw it, but Hogan did a thing right after he passed. He was at like a signing at like a bar or something.
Yeah.
And it was so disingenuous. And
it didn't feel real.
It put the focus back on Hogan.
Disrespectful. It felt so disrespectful. It's like, I cannot believe after everything he's done for you, you're gonna talk like this. I know he had his demons. Like, you're paying respects to this guy. Like,
and that's the thing. Like, you got to credit Hall with rejuvenating Hogan's career. Hogan was stale at that point, and nobody cared about Hulk Hogan.
If you just only knew, like, so bad.
Well, even going back to what we were talking about before with WWE, you got to think when Razor or Scott Hall came in as Razor Ramon, there was the good guy and bad guy scenario of WWE, but it just didn't feel like there was no like light being shined on the bad guy as much as it happened with Razor Ramon when he came in. Like, it felt like the light was shining. Like, it was more of like, okay, this is the path we're going into now. Good guys and bad guys, but the bad guys are going to have a path where they have more story involved. You know what I mean? Like, it felt like there was more development in character when Scott Hall came into wrestling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there was, again, like the charisma and everything. So there's so much there that I feel Hogan deserves to thank Scott Hall for, and for him to be the person he is, especially after what we were talking about earlier, Like, he just sounds like the worst person in the world. And then let alone the one person that's supposed to be the good guy is the worst person. The one person that's the bad guy seems like the nicest person. It's so an opposite thing, but that's what makes Scott Hall great.
He just knew how to play a character, and he did it very well. He's going to be missed in wrestling for sure. I'm sure that affected a lot of people.
Yeah. Like I said, when we found out the news, it's like, like all of us, like we're all messaging each other. We're like, holy shit, did you hear like Scott Hall, like that day when we found out he was in a coma and that they were going to take him off. That's all we were saying to each other. We were all messaging each other.
When I saw the Kevin Nash tweet where they were going to take him off, they were just waiting for all his family to arrive.
Yeah, I was looking for some updates too during that day, and I heard that they took him off life support.
Yeah,
and he was still alive. I'm like, oh shit! Okay, this guy's
going to be all right.
He's going to be okay. And then,
hey, I'm glad that he was a fighter for one last moment.
Right? He put. It was his last fight.
This is one of the bigger losses in my wrestling fandom. Like, there's been others, obviously, but like I said, this is the reason I got into wrestling was because of Razor Ramon.
Yeah,
he was just the epitome of the coolest person in wrestling.
These were some of the for me, like the last time I felt a shock this big was when Piper died.
Yep,
for me at least. And and before that was Savage. Like, I mean, it was sad what happened with the Warrior, but I was never really that much of a Warrior
Savage
fan.
happened a little bit too much before the social media boom.
Yeah.
And it didn't have the same effect in the general masses as I think this did, which this one I'm surprised that after all the big ones where they had everyone come out on stage at WWE to toll the bell and stuff, I can't believe they didn't do it for Scott Hall.
Yeah, I think it's because of what happened in the past with the whole NWO thing, or the WCW, I should say. But either way,
the guy's a two-time Hall of Famer in the WWF.
No, I agree. I'm just saying that I don't know if that's what the situation. I'm just taking a wild guess what it might be. It's just like I said, you could tell online because I remember when you guys posted the message, I actually didn't see it until like a day later because I had things going on. So when I realized it happened, I was like, oh crap. And the first thing that popped in my head is like, I got to go watch videos. I got to go reminisce.
That's first
literally
thought.
What I did.
Literally when we were talking about it. And my first thought was I got to go message Putty because he's not going to know about this.
Yeah.
And that's why I put it in the group.
One of the first things I did was rewatch that ladder match. And then I rewatched the curtain call at Madison Square Garden. The day basically the day kayfabe died.
Yeah, and what's great is I have Peacock, so I was like, I would look at all that stuff and find that old stuff. It was so good. So glad I have that. Yeah. But anyway, my point is like I was just so frustrating to to know that because this is going to keep happening. Unfortunately, I hate saying it that way, but there's a lot of wrestlers I grew up with.
We're at that point now, right? And I understand that.
But I mean, Bret Hart's pulled through so many times that you don't know when his time's going to come. I hate to say that. I hope Bret lasts forever, but Bret's going to be, Hogan's in that. Like, say what you will about Hogan, but Hogan's in that.
Yeah, it's still going to be.
I'm surprised Sting didn't die in that AEW pay-per-view when he went head first into the table.
If you saw the 8-man tornado match, he did it again.
I know. Holy Jesus. 62 years old, and this guy's like putting his body through.
He was just dropping stinger splashes like crazy the other night.
He's still got that height, though, eh?
Yeah. He's good, man.
But that just going back to Scott Hall, this is a prime example of when, like we're talking about all these guys that play good guys and bad guys, but for someone to be able to stick around and be so prominent and never ever be babyface, like always being the bad guy, like always sticking to that role. There's not a lot of bad people that can do that.
Well, he did turn babyface. He was babyface in the Shawn Michaels ladder match.
Was he
title for title match? Technically, Shawn was the heel.
Shawn was an unwarranted heel because
he was just an asshole at the time.
McMahon was trying to push him so hard, and just like his attitude was just garbage.
That's because everybody hated his guts.
Yeah, they were both reversed. One was supposed to be a face but wasn't liked, and one was supposed to be hated and was liked.
And that's probably what it was. Because the thing is, I even though I liked him, I never saw him as the good guy. If that makes sense, you know what I mean? Like
No, but the bad guy. But
yeah,
that's what I mean. Like I said, you don't have to be a good guy to be over, and I think that's so smart that people realize that because a lot of careers were ruined by the fact that they did a really good job in their character at actually wrestling, and because they didn't live up to what WWE was pushing them as, they canceled them. Like Roman Reigns got the push forever. I know we talk about this all the time, but nobody likes him. Why wouldn't you make him a heel?
I went back and watched, because the thing is, I actually watched recently, because you guys know I'm a fan of a wrestler that you guys aren't too much into, but I watched the what is it, the skull, it's the series with
The Broken
Steve
Skull
Austin.
sessions.
Yeah. And I actually was watched all of them, watched the Bret Hart one, and I even watched the one with Goldberg. And I looked back because I didn't know this whole Roman Reigns match happened. So I didn't know I had no idea this whole stuff with Roman Reigns was going on. So I went back and watched the whole match with him and Goldberg. And there's just something that felt off about how Roman Reigns as a character is. Like, dude, this is not enjoyable. And I even didn't know, I through my past and everything, I knew Paul Heyman had a lot to do with other people, but I didn't know how much respect he had from people. You know what I mean? As far as other wrestlers and everything.
Yeah.
But my point to the thing
he
is,
made a lot of careers.
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree. Well, see, I also, because the thing is, after that, I kind of went on a spiral of looking stuff up and everything. And
You
I
fell down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, and basically, I never knew that Goldberg got into the Hall of Fame, so I watched his speech, and you guys talked about Diamond Dallas Page and his connection. Well, that goes back to, like I said, this is one thing I love about wrestling is when you're a good wrestler, you have connections between other wrestlers, and just like you said yourself, DDP is connected to so many people that he doesn't get the love that he deserves, and that's the reason why we're talking about the Scott Hall thing, is because there's a lot of times when you see WWE doesn't show respect to people that do get the deserve.
But he was a great character, but he was also talented, and that situation is rare. That's few and far between. Some people have great charisma, but are a terrible wrestler. Like, take The Miz, for example. He's a great heel. Can't work shit in the ring, though. Right? John Cena can talk the talk, but John Cena's the 5 moves of doom.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's, like Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior. They were all talkers, but they'd gas after 2 minutes in the ring.
Yeah, Hogan was arguably a lot better than Warrior was.
Yes.
The
Iron Sheik is 10 times better wrestler than the Hulk was.
But 100%. A lot of times the people that put you over are the better wrestlers. And DDP did it a lot. Like, he's still doing it right now. With teaching people and training people.
I think he's a producer with AEW right now, or he's working behind the scenes there or something.
I believe so. They have a lot of really good people on payroll.
And DDP, if you're listening, hey, I need you to come over and do those exercises with me. I know, come on, hit me up, brother, because I know
he'll tell you to buy the DVDs.
Yeah, right. Well, I know he worked with another big guy that's a YouTuber like myself. I'm like, dude, can I get some of that? Come on, I'd love to meet DDP and get some, anyway. But that's sidetracking.
You and your pimento cheese sandwiches.
Yeah, right.
I remember back in 2011, 2012, 2013, one of those years. Where Scott Hall was going through a personal issue, and there was like something that came out on TMZ where he was outside his ex-wife's house and just drunk out of his mind and talking about doing things to himself and all that stuff. And then for a period after that, nobody could find him.
Yeah,
nobody knew what was going on.
He went dark for a while.
He went dark, and DDP was starting to put out these videos on YouTube about DDP yoga and all that stuff. And then And then I saw this one video where DD put out with Jake the Snake Roberts, and they were calling Scott Hall, and he's drunk out of his mind. And they were kind of surprised.
That's in the documentary Resurrection of Jake the Snake.
Yeah, I heard that. I
go watch that. That is such a good documentary. That's one of the best.
Yeah,
I'll put the link.
They called him. And they were surprised that he picked up the phone, and they convinced him to come over to DDP's house and try and do something a little new.
That's the infamous scene where he's in the wheelchair.
Friggin' almost cried when I saw that. To be honest, and he was like he was just so out of shape and
angry and drunk and
like all of a sudden, like he just had all gray hairs. And it's like, is this the same person?
Right.
And then
his face was all like swollen and bloated, and
then maybe like 6 months later, they put out another video, and this guy's like in shape again, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, and it was like so cool to see him in somewhat good shape, because I know he still had a bad hip and he had to get surgery and all that stuff, but. He looked like he lost some weight. He got into shape again, and then his life was getting back. And
that's I think a year or two after that. That's when the NWO came in to help Sting in that WrestleMania match against Triple H.
Yeah, it was like a couple of years after that. But like
Yeah.
you just see this sort of timeline where he's getting his life back together, videos coming out, and he's getting back into shape, and he's reestablishing a relationship with his daughter and his son. And the son starts popping up on videos, and he's starting a wrestling career, and Scott Hall's
Cody.
helping him out. And it's like I was so happy to see that, and then all of a sudden he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame. I was like, oh wow! I mean, for a guy who he says that he should have died many, many times in his life,
Yeah,
it was so great to see him back and so healthy. That it was great to see him have
and
that
a two-time
small
Hall of
little-
Famer at that.
Yeah, NWO and
NWO
so,
and-
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, what else is there to say?
It goes to show that if he can do it, anybody else can do it.
Yeah,
That's pretty much
basically it. He says it, dreams come true, work hard, bad times don't last, but the bad guys do. Right?
Classic.
nice way.
And that's how he ended his Hall of Fame speech. And I think that's how we'll end it here. Scott Hall, RIP. You'll be missed, big guy. Get a little too sweet action up. Sweet. And thanks again for joining us. I will see y'all next time. Wait, throw the toothpick back at the.
Yeah.
Threw it at yourself.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.